You don't even notice you're doing it. You offer to help before they ask. You apologize for taking up space. You stay 5 minutes longer in every conversation just to prove you're patient. You say it's no big deal even when it is. You smile when you're tired. You nod when you're unsure. You laugh at jokes that don't land just to make someone else feel safe. You are, without realizing it, proving yourself. In rooms where no one asked for your credentials. In relationships where love is supposed to be given, not earned. In silence, you wait for a reply just to know you matter. You edit the text 3 times. You over-explain. You check the mirror before entering your own life. What are you hoping they'll see? This isn't confidence. This isn't care. This is a hunger. Quiet. Exhausting. Invisible. The hunger to be enough. But enough for who and by whose measure? Nietzsche said, God is dead. And with that death, the sky lost its judge. The heavens that once told us what was good, what was true, what was noble collapsed. And so you inherited the silence. In that silence, you searched for a substitute, a new God. You found it in approval, in being wanted, in being useful. You replaced divinity with relevance. You began to fear invisibility more than dishonesty. You began to fear rejection more than self-betrayal. You post for engagement, not expression. You give to be needed, not to be generous. You stay in rooms that deplete you just to be remembered. This is the modern sainthood, to be indispensable, even if it kills you. But Nietzsche warned us, when the source of meaning is killed, something else always takes its place. If not God, then the crowd. If not the heavens, then the hive. So now you live with the crushing pressure of being enough for a world that doesn't know what enough means. You've made a life out of responding to messages, to moods, to expectations. You've learned to contort, to anticipate, to endure. You've learned to perform presence, even when you've left yourself behind. And yet, still you feel the emptiness. Tell me, when did being nice become the mask you couldn't take off? When did your worth become something handed to you only if you smiled wide enough? You feel it. In your gut. In your fatigue. In the low-grade resentment you can't name. You feel it every time you give what you don't have just to avoid disappointing someone else. This is not kindness. This is not generosity. This is fear disguised as virtue. This is the cost of needing to be seen as good. And behind that need is a deeper question. What would happen if you stopped trying? What would happen if you let the silence be awkward? If you said no without an excuse? If you left the message unanswered, the offer declined, the invitation ignored? Would the world end? Would you disappear? Or would you finally arrive? This didn't begin with you. It began long before you ever said yes when you meant no. Before you learned that being liked was safer than being real. Before your voice was trained to tremble when speaking your truth. You inherited this hunger. Nietzsche called it slave morality, a quiet rebellion disguised as righteousness. When the powerless couldn't win by strength, they rewrote the game. They said power was evil. Boldness was arrogance. Ambition was sin. And meekness, submission. These became good, because those were the only cards they had to play. Do you see it now? The virtue you cling to, selflessness, restraint, patience, forgiveness at all costs, it was born not from freedom, but from fear. It wasn't a celebration of goodness. It was a strategy for survival. And now, it lives in you, in your urge to downplay your success, to soften your opinions, to make your boundaries sound like apologies. Because somewhere inside you've been taught to be loud is to be threatening, to be proud is to be selfish, to take space is to be a burden. That's not morality. That's conditioning. That's what Nietzsche meant when he said, "Slave morality begins when resentment becomes creative. When the hurt don't heal, they moralize. They call weakness humility. They call fear compassion. They call suffering sacred. You were told to admire the ones who gave until they broke, to worship the martyr, to mimic the saint. But what if the saint was exhausted? What if their goodness was a cry for permission to stop performing, to stop saving, to be loved without bleeding? You've inherited that cry. You call it kindness, but it drains you. You call it loyalty, but it silences you. You call it patience, but it's eating you alive. You fear being called difficult. You fear being misunderstood. You fear being alone. But most of all, you fear being seen in your full power and not being accepted. So you shrink. You delay. You perform. Nietzsche didn't say reject morality because he wanted chaos. He said, trace it back. Ask where it came from. Ask if it helps you live. Because most of what you believe is good was never yours to begin with. You are not here to inherit their moral fatigue. You are here to choose, to question, to create, to say, enough. You were never asked what you value. You were told that goodness looks like silence, that morality looks like giving more than you have, that being a better person means disappearing more politely. But Nietzsche told the truth. There are no moral phenomena at all, only a moral interpretation of phenomena. There is no universal scale, no final judge, no one keeping score, only perspectives, only values born from wills and wills born from need. So who benefits when you shrink? You say, I want to be good. But that word good, who defined it? You stay quiet when you're upset to seem emotionally mature. You forgive betrayals to prove you're evolved. You give more than you have so they'll call you kind. But inside, you're hollow. Because you've confused goodness with being unthreatening. You've confused peace with appeasement. You've confused being chosen with being used. Nietzsche's perspectivism asks you to look closer, to see that what you call truth is often just consensus. What you call morality is often just obedience. He said, build your own table of values. Not because anything goes, but because not everything should. You say, but what if that makes me selfish? And I say, what if it makes you whole? This is not abandonment of meaning, it's the creation of it. This is not ego, it's sovereignty. This is not cruelty, it's clarity. So burn the borrowed script, and in the ash, write your own. You've been trading truth for belonging, presence for performance, clarity for comfort. You've been so busy proving yourself that you forgot you were already someone. Every time you swallow the truth to keep the peace, every time you overextend just to avoid being forgotten, every time you say it's fine with a smile that feels like betrayal, you lose something. First, it's something quiet, your center. Then, it's your fire. Then it's your voice. Nietzsche called it resentment, the quiet corrosion of self that grows when we betray who we are and call it virtue. You give, you smile, you serve, and you begin to resent the very people you're trying to impress. Because how could they ever love you when they don't even know you? You're not being loved, you're being managed, and you're the one doing the managing. But there is another way. Become who you are, Nietzsche wrote, not who they prefer, not who they praise, not who they reward with fragile acceptance, but who you are when no one is watching, when no one is grading, and that you, the real you, does not exist to make others comfortable. Take back the no you choked on. Take back the silence you swallowed. Take back the truth you dimmed. Because it was never love if it required your disappearance. You are not here to be agreeable. You are not here to be enough by someone else's metric. You are here to be real. Nietzsche called it master morality. Not the morality of domination, but of creation, of choosing your values, living your life, defining your worth. This is your return. You stop asking for the mission. You stop apologizing for truth. You stop explaining why your needs matter. You don't need their understanding. You need your own integrity. And no, they won't always like you. They might say you've changed. Let them. You are not a mirror. You are not a sponge. You are not a therapist for the world's projections. You are the flame. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. So what is your why? And is it yours or borrowed? The death of God means there's no one left to define you but you. No one left to punish or praise but you. That is terrifying and freeing. You are now the maker of meaning, the definer of value, the one who says, this matters, this is mine, this is me. So choose your peace. Cut the strings. Withdraw instead of reacting. Say less. Hold firm. Burn brighter. Let them adjust to your light. The world doesn't need another perfectly agreeable person. It needs someone who is fully alive. It needs you.